everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yo, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. It was a Thanksgiving week. We just got over it, so
We did.
still recovering from turkey and stuff.
We hosted.
We did. Yeah, your whole family had 11 total people, so it was nice, little gathering. And we brought up the topic of possibly not having turkey next year. It didn't go over well, so you are a traditionalist. You'd like to have turkey.
I do.
Even though turkey isn't fantastic food. Would you agree with that?
I enjoyed it this year.
I mean, it's kind of like having chicken.
Yeah, it was fine. I like traditions, and my dad and I make stuffing together, and we put it in the turkey, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have a turkey.
So it sounds like what we agreed on is having like a smaller turkey and then adding like maybe a roast beef or something, or prime rib would be nice.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, I'm not a big meat lover anyway, so I don't give a rat's patootie.
Whoa. Wow. I didn't think we'd be using that kind of language on the show today.
I'm sorry, folks. Patootie, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of people. We had everyone sleeping over at our house.
Mm-hmm. And the good news, I was in charge of, I think, literally one thing for the whole day. And you went to go take a shower while you put me in charge of baking the buns.
And I asked him, I'm
rolls.
like, you got this? Because I'm going to go take a shower. And you're like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, it's
the
easy.
timers were set.
I'm like, stop being like so like worried about what I can do and not do. Like, this is just easy buns in the oven, no problem.
Buns in the oven.
Yeah, and we think we're making crescent rolls. So I looked at them. I'm like, these four look done. So I'm going to take them out, take the four out, put the others in for a little bit more. And I got into a conversation, and lo and behold, I left them in about 10 minutes too long, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the rule of thumb for me is I don't ever stick anything in the oven without setting a timer, because I went to school to be a dietitian, and part of that was food. So I had to run a restaurant on our campus of Northern Illinois University. And that was the one thing that was like drilled into my head, was you never put something in the oven and not set a timer, because odds are you're going to get distracted.
Yeah, and I did. So turns out that you shouldn't bake them 10 minutes longer than anticipated.
No, it's 9 minutes is what's recommended, not 19.
Yeah, so it was 19. They weren't black. They were edible, I would say.
The biscuits were absolutely burned.
We had biscuits. We also had the crescent rolls. Crescent rolls were okay looking, and so it was just like, all right, I got to go, and I'm going to go try to make it up and find some buns somewhere. And I was like, do people even eat buns for Thanksgiving? And you're like, yeah, it's part of the menu. I'm like, well, we could just scratch it from the menu. It doesn't have to be on the menu. But she was, it felt like somebody here really wanted it, but you wouldn't tell me who.
No, I think our kids like them.
Oh, okay. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go out to Whole Foods, which is the only grocery store open on Thanksgiving this year. And you were like, okay, thank you. I'm like, okay.
You said you wanted to take a ride, so he's spinning the story in a different way, folks. Don't listen to a word he says.
Well, I'm telling the story, therefore I'm spinning the story to my side. So that makes sense.
You're spinning it falsely, but regardless, the menu turned out flawlessly. Our daughter helped me tremendously because we cook everything. I cook the entire menu myself, so it was delicious.
It was delicious. Everybody had a good time.
Kids were off of school for the week. Last weekend, we had our daughter's birthday party with 5 girls sleeping over.
That's your own personal hell, I would say, basically.
Well, it's because they constantly need things.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeding them constantly.
They're 12-year-old girls. They're very self-sufficient, I would say.
It's the food. They're constantly needing food.
Yeah, and then our daughter's like, hey, we had a sleepover. Can we have one more sleepover? It's like, if it's one friend, that's okay, but like
not 5 girls.
At first I was like, yeah, that sounds fine, but then you said, well, you'll be in charge of like making them breakfast again and lunch again, and I'm like, that's a lot.
Well, it was a Sunday night, so I was going to be working. I'm like, I have to get up for work at 4:00 in the morning, and then I'm hosting 11 people in our house on Thursday. I'm like, absolutely not. I said, your dad is working, and then Mike looks at me because I'm the bad guy.
Well, yeah, that's ideal.
It's like, you want to get up on a work day and prepare breakfast and lunch for 5 girls?
Bad guy, good guy.
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, that's okay.
Mean one, nice one.
Yeah, it works very well. I must say, I like it a lot.
So it was a success. It was all good. It was all fun. The kids are back to school tomorrow, and we're getting back to regular life until Christmas.
Yeah, it should be fun. So hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving if you're in the United States. And if you're not in the United States, that's okay. And you had, some time with family or whatever. It might be just regular stuff. So
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being here. And every week at 9 a.m. we come to you with a new episode. So should we get into this week?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So this is a very sad story, as they all are. I will give a little warning. This case does involve some sexual assaults. This is the murder of Georgia Williams. So Georgia Williams was born on September 17th, 1995 to parents Lynette and Steve Williams. She had an older sister named Scarlett, and the family lived in Telford, Shropshire, England. So her father, Steve, he was a police detective. They were just a very sweet and loving and close family. So Georgia was described as someone who went out of her way to care for others. It was always her goal to make people feel included and comfortable. And it's great to know a person like that who's kind, because I find that so many people are just wrapped up in themselves that it's so nice when other people see the discomfort of others and try to make them feel comfortable.
Like, how many times are you at a party and somebody doesn't ask you anything about yourself? That happens more times than you like.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. So when Georgia was younger and in middle school, she did face bullying. But as she moved on to high school, she became more confident. She was very popular and well-liked. She had a very large circle of friends because she was so kind and funny. She became the head girl of her school, which was Urkelwood Technology College.
Head girl? Is that like a U.S. equivalent of like the president of the class?
Yeah, basically it's a leadership role that represents the entire student body. So it was Georgia's dream and goals to one day become a Royal Air Force's paramedic. So during her time in high school, she began training as an air cadet. Her dad described her as a gorgeous tomboy, as she loved to be outdoors. She had an outgoing and adventurous spirit. When she turned 17, Georgia got a job at a gas station, or in England, we would say petrol. But here in America, we say gas station. So this was in her town, and while she was working at this job, she made many friends. So this included a 22, one source said 22, but most said 23. So I'll say he was 23. So this was Jaime Reynolds. So Jaime was a man who presented as very socially awkward. He oftentimes seemed to be left out of the group just based on his personality.
It's a lot of times we start talking about socially awkward. Not that people that are socially awkward are killers, but man, it's usually not a good sign.
So Georgia was the type of person that would immediately notice somebody like this and want to make them feel included into the group because she was a good person. So she made a point to befriend him. With her help, he soon became to come around more, like with the group. He was participating in group activities amongst all the coworkers at the gas station. So it didn't take long for Jaime to develop feelings toward Georgia because she was kind to him.
And probably was the first girl doing so, like in a long time, maybe ever.
Right. So he eventually worked up the courage to tell her how he was feeling. He asked her out on a date. He even told her he would love it if he could be her boyfriend. Georgia very kindly and respectfully turned him down, explained that she wasn't interested in pursuing a relationship at that time. She wanted to avoid ruining their friendship. So Jaime felt upset by Georgia's response, but he chose to respect her wishes so that they could maintain their friendship. But little did Georgia know that Jaime was quietly harboring an extremely unhealthy obsession for her. During their shift together one day, Jaime confided in Georgia, and he told her that he was deeply unhappy with his life. He no longer wanted to work at the gas station because, he's 23 years old. She's a teenager who's finishing high school. He's already moved past that. So he wasn't happy with where he was in life, and he's telling Georgia about this. So he said that he was getting older. He was interested in pursuing his passion of photography in hopes that one day it could possibly become a career. So being a good friend, Georgia wanted to listen and support him as he spoke. So they sat down together and they talked about it. They talked about his goals and his plans. She encouraged his pursuit of photography, and Jaime asked if she could help him create a professional portfolio. So he also hoped she could be his first model or photography subject so that he could get this portfolio together and get the ball rolling.
Man, she's super, super kind to offer all this stuff. She just has that place in her heart where she just wants to help, it sounds like.
Yep. So being the good friend that she was, Georgia agreed, and they set a date for a photo shoot. The date was set for Sunday, May 26, 2013. The plan was for Georgia and a few of her friends to go over to Jaime's parents' house and do this photo shoot. So as the day of the photo shoot rolled around, Georgia almost canceled the plans because her family said that they were going to have a barbecue at the house and her grandparents were going to be there. She hadn't seen her grandparents in some time, but she was somebody that was reliable. Again, she was a good friend. She didn't want to cancel their plans and make Jaime feel like she didn't care about his goals.
And he wasn't a priority in her life, and his dreams weren't important.
So it was her idea, and I think this way a lot. Like, how could we make this all work?
Yeah, you do.
So her plan was, I'm going to go over to Jamie's, do the photo shoot, be there for just a short period of time, come back home and visit with the family, and then everybody's happy. So she was going to go quickly and then come back. So Georgia got ready. She quickly did her hair and makeup. That day, she wore jeans and a leather jacket, and she headed over to Jamie's house. As she was leaving her family's home, her father told her that she looked beautiful and that she reminded him of Sandy from the movie Grease. And there was no way in the possibility of anything that Steve could have ever known that these would be the last words he would be speaking to his daughter. So Georgia walked out the door that evening at 7:30 p.m. and her family expected her back relatively quickly because, again, Jaime lived only a few minutes away. So she would go over there maybe for an hour and be back. So after 3 hours had passed, they became concerned that she had not come home. Her mother, Lynette, assumed that Georgia must have gotten caught up with what she was doing, potentially lost track of time. So she sent Georgia a text and asked her when the photo shoot was going to be finished. Georgia responded that the photo shoot had ended a while ago, but she was just hanging out with her friends. She likely would not be home until later. Her mom was satisfied with the response. She saw that her daughter had ended the text with 3 kissy face emojis. This was very typical of Georgia. She didn't think anything about it. She knew that Georgia was a very responsible girl, so she stayed out of trouble. Her mom was not concerned. She was very satisfied with the response. She was a teenager. So later that night, Lynette and Steve headed to bed. When they woke up the next morning, they were alarmed because Georgia still hadn't returned. So at 6:30 a.m., Lynette sent another text and asked where Georgia was and when she would be home. Georgia responded an hour later at 7:30 a.m. She told her mom that she had stayed the night at a friend's house and that her phone's battery was dying, so that if she did not send another text, this would be the reason why. So Lynette didn't know at the time, but these texts that were coming through back to her were not from Georgia at all. So it was now Monday, May 27th, and Lynette and Steve knew that Georgia had plans to go to a music festival that day. So they weren't expecting to see her anyway. So the assumption was that she was going to be gone for the day and she would go to the music fest straight from her friend's house where she had stayed. So they expected her to be home for sure by the next morning because she had her first driving lesson scheduled that Tuesday, and she was super excited to learn how to drive. Earn her independence.
Yeah, that's super important for anybody who remembers that time.
Right. So as the day wore on, this is Monday. Now we're moving into Monday night. Georgia still wasn't home. Lynette's and Steve's worry begins to grow again. So feeling a sense of panic, they began to contact friends and relatives, but no one had heard from Georgia or seen her in days. When Georgia still hadn't returned by the next morning, now we're moving on to the day where she would have had her driving lesson scheduled. They know she would have been home for that. There was no way.
Yeah.
So it's Tuesday, May 28th. So Lynette and Steve decided to report their daughter missing. They tried to give as much information as possible, but really the only information that they had was that Sunday she had gone to Jaime Reynolds' house for a photo shoot. They have no information beyond what happened from there.
Yeah, nothing super factual. Obviously they think that they're talking to their daughter via text, but it's like, no, all we know 100%, we saw her leave here, go to Jamie's.
At 7:30 p.m. on Sunday.
That's 100% fact, the only thing we can say.
What happened beyond that is a mystery. So when police looked into Jaime Reynolds, they saw that he had a disturbing record. In 2008, he was caught by police when he attempted to strangle a girl. So at that time, no arrest was made, no charges were filed. He had been given a warning and sent on his way. Police went to Jamie's house to question him since he was the last known person to have seen Georgia. When they knocked on the door, no one answered. So at that point, fearing for Georgia's safety, they kicked the door in. They looked around the house. Nobody was there. It was empty. So when they went to the gas station where Jaime and Georgia worked, they spoke with some coworkers. No one had seen either. And even more concerning, both had missed a shift, which was very uncharacteristic. So police contacted Jamie's parents who were on vacation, but they provided the police with the registration of the van that Jamie would be driving. It was a white van that actually belonged to Jamie's stepfather. So the Shropshire police notified stations across the UK to be on the lookout for this white van. So not long after, police tracked Jamie down. He was 208 miles away in Glasgow, Scotland. And the fact that he had left the country was alarming to investigators. So on Thursday, May 30th, 2013, police arrested Jamie at a budget hotel on suspicion of kidnapping. They took him into the station for questioning. So he told police that he didn't know where Georgia was, and at that point he was transported back to Shropshire.
And it's kidnapping for now, by the way.
Right. So Georgia's family was devastated when police informed them of what was going on. They knew that things were not looking good.
Yeah.
So really, at this point, they were expecting the worst. So with Jamie in custody, police were now able to conduct a more thorough search of the home. They found a camera with an SD card inside. When they looked at it, they saw that all the files had been deleted. So the camera was taken to the station to allow experts to recover the files. So when this was completed, police were able to see the images that had been taken, and any question that they may have had in mind of what happened that night were answered with these questions. And it wasn't good. So the first couple of photos were of Georgia, and they appeared to be very typical pictures from a photo shoot. This proved that Georgia had definitely been with Jamie on that day that she went missing. In the images, she looked happy, she was carefree looking, she was fully clothed. So I will tell you that as I continue to go towards what the end of what happens in these photos, I will be talking about what happened briefly. So if you want to skip forward, I totally understand. So as police continued to search through the images, they became darker and more disturbing as they went on. Later photos showed that Georgia was naked. She was standing on a red recycling box and her hands appeared to be bound behind her with a rope that hung above her. Photo 12 displayed the correct time of 8:20 p.m., and at that point, Georgia's face still showed no sign of alarm. This was the last photo of Georgia alive. So it is believed that Jamie murdered Georgia before 9 p.m. that night. So Jamie, when I say filmed, I do not believe they were actual videos. I believe these were a lot of photos. So these final moments were captured on this camera. And the police watched in horror as the red box that she stood on was basically kicked away, and then she was struggling for breath, and she ultimately died.
Hung?
Yes. So the final images were extremely graphic, and this is where I will warn you that these are disturbing. So it basically showed Jamie engaging in sexual acts on Georgia's body after she had died. He moved her throughout the house, and this included his parents' bed. Very, very horrifying and disturbing. He posed her body in various positions. He removed her jewelry. He kept these as souvenirs. He then utilized her cell phone to text her parents so that they would be under the impression that she was just fine. So this is a very sick and dark and disturbed person that we're dealing with.
Yeah, poor darling Georgia goes into
just
like
a lovely human being.
help a friend. And it's really interesting that she didn't have signs of distress on her face. Do you think, I mean, yeah, other the things that you've read, not that what you think, but maybe people's comments and things, like do most people think that she was actually just posing before she died?
He made her believe that he was doing like this deep kind of photo shoot, which I will tell you what he told her.
Okay.
So police ended up finding 16,800 photos and 72 videos of extremely violent pornography, rape videos, and snuff films. This included people being tortured and murdered. Jamie later told police that he was absolutely excited and turned on by strangulation. His parents ended their vacation and immediately came home to speak with police.
Yeah, good idea.
They confirmed that their son had been watching violent porn since at least age 14. It could have been sooner. This was when they found it.
That's got to be hard as a parent. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of sexual preferences and things of that nature, but it's like once it starts getting towards illegal stuff.
And violence.
Yeah.
And why does that excite you?
Yeah.
So it definitely concerned them, and they didn't treat it lightly.
Yeah.
So when they found this, again, he was 14, they weren't really able to take his laptop away because he did use it readily for school. So what they did was they contacted their internet provider. They prevented all access to sites like these. So being a creative and manipulative teenager, he called the internet provider himself. He paid for his own private Wi-Fi.
Wow.
So that his parents would be unaware of the fact that he continued to utilize these sites.
Wow. That's an enterprising young man. I know if we shut off access for our son, he'd just be like, oh, I don't have internet now.
He'd be like, well, that sucks. This is stupid.
Right.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
nothing positive to say about this young man, piece of shit.
But that's just how determined he was to continue to watch this violence.
Yeah.
So they were so concerned that they themselves found these videos. When they found these videos on their son's computer, they actually notified the police and CPS. But both avenues told them it's not illegal to watch these things. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, because the people are actors and they're acting like they're being murdered and stuff. And that's what snuff films are. And because people do get off on that. And it's just like, these are actors. Like, it's the same thing as a horror movie. Like, that's not illegal to make.
Right.
So, sorry.
There was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
So during the search of the home, police also found notepads with 40 different stories that Jaime himself had written. This and all of them included the torture, rape, and murder of women. He had also printed pictures of women online and drew a picture of a noose around their necks. There had been doctored images of at least 8 girls that he personally knew. And then these girls find out about what happened to Georgia and that their faces are in Jaime's house with a noose around them.
Like, it could have been any of them had they gotten closer to him.
Absolutely. It was just Georgia that was kind and wanted to help her friend progress in life.
Yep.
So one story specifically had been written about Georgia. It was titled Georgia Williams in Surprise. This was the exact story of what Jaime did to Georgia the night he killed her. So he basically wrote the story and then recreated it into reality. Ugh. So it turned out that he wrote the story. He started it in January. He completed it 3 weeks before he actually killed her. So while his parents were vacationing in Italy, he knew he had the house to himself. He jumped at the opportunity to turn his fantasy into reality. Jaime had tricked Georgia into thinking that he was creating an artistic photo shoot.
So the whole thing about not wanting to work at the gas station was a ruse. It was just like, I just want to find a way to get you into my apartment.
Just a way to get this story happening. Yeah. How can I get her to come over? So he told her when she came over that it was this artistic photo shoot that involved a simulation by hanging. So he had hung a noose to a hanging mechanism that he fitted to the loft hatch of the house. This stood above the landing. So based on his writings, he told her that she would stand on a box that would be edited out so it appeared that she was floating.
Okay, so it's like, what would her head go into the noose, obviously? So that's where, like, in your head, you got to be like, this isn't good, unless there's some kind of fail safe or something. Like, you got to think, man, and I'm not blaming Georgia whatsoever. She's trying to do her best, but here's what I would think. I'd be like, there's got to be something there to show me that this will give way if something happens accidentally and I actually hang myself here.
You know, you're talking about a town in England where you're working at a gas station. This is a coworker that she had known.
Yeah.
You don't think that someone is going to do this. You think, oh, wow, because artists are very, I'm going to say something stupid, artistic, but I'm saying like they do different things that we wouldn't think about.
Well, it's racy, gets people thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and maybe she was all for just, the artistic expression of it all.
Why in the world would she have ever thought that her friend was going to kill her? No. She wouldn't have.
No,
because,
of course not.
People who don't have these dark thoughts, their minds don't go that way.
Right.
So the initial photos on his hard drive were of Georgia alive and smiling with a red rope around her neck. And then the next series were of her dead. So again, it was photo 12 at 8:20 p.m. That was the last photo of her alive. So we know he killed her after that. So those that knew Jaime saw him as a little odd, quiet and reserved, but no one could have ever imagined that he was capable of what he had done to Georgia. They didn't think he was a violent, sick person.
Well, no, otherwise you would, call authorities or something if you had that inclination.
So Jaime refused to tell police what he had done with Georgia's body, so police set about retracing his steps from Monday morning, May 27th, the day after he killed her. They started at a gas station where they had seen surveillance footage of him filling up the tank for the white van. At this time, they knew that Georgia's body was in the back of the van. From here, he drove 60 miles and went to a movie theater. He put the car in the parking lot, went inside, watched a movie while Georgia's body was in the back of this van.
Was it like a normal movie or like a snuff film?
No, it was a normal movie. It was just at a regular movie theater. And police believe that this was like his sick way of, in his warped mind, that he had finally was able to take Georgia on a date. Like, that's why they think he went to the movies.
Interesting.
That in his mind, this was their date.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to do it when you're alive, but you'll do it now that
right.
I killed you.
So after he left the theater, police lost track of his movements, so they put out a public statement. They showed the van, what it looked like, and asked if anyone could come forward if they had seen this van. So it was very helpful. People actually came forward very quickly. They informed police that they had seen the van on, and I hope I'm going to say this right, once I can actually talk. So this was called Nanty Garth Mountain Pass near Wrexham. The area was dense with woods. It had a very muddy terrain, which was a good thing. Because of this muddy terrain, his van had gotten caught, so this was why people really remember. They actually had to step in and help him.
Oh, wow. What a bad luck for him, but great luck for everybody else. It's not a piece of crap human being.
Right. So they helped him get his van unstuck from the mud. So, of course, they remembered the van. They called police. They knew that Georgia's body must be in this area. So, of course, police headed to this area, and this is where they located the naked body of Georgia Williams.
Must have pissed Jaime off that they actually found him.
Right. So postmortem showed that Georgia had died from asphyxia, as they assumed would be the case. They also found bruising on the back of her neck that indicated that Jaime had likely used his knee to also apply pressure to help things along. So despite all of this evidence, Jaime is standing there in front of the police maintaining his innocence. We have photos.
It's like, okay, she was last with you, and here's this, here's where you were, and here's where she was, and okay, you're innocent. Okay, makes sense, buddy.
So all of this changed, however, on the first day of the trial, when in December of 2013, he decided to stand and admit what he had done. Georgia's father, Steve, said that his wife, Lynette, would carry the scars of seeing her daughter's body as it laid in the hospital's chapel of rest from here to eternity. It's nothing you would ever forget. How do you ever erase the images of your child taken at the hands of another human being that she trusted?
I don't know if I'd be able to watch any of those videos or anything.
No, they didn't see any of that.
Just knowing that what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So during the trial, it was discovered that the police were aware of Jaime. Again, I mentioned in 2008 that he had strangled a girl. So in 2008, he received what the judge referred to as a final warning after trapping another 17-year-old girl in his home. In 2011, he was reported again. This time, he reversed his car into a girl who had refused his advances. In this instance, he had just gotten off with nothing more than a traffic warning. Jaime was referred to as a sexual deviant by the judge, and as the trial for Georgia's murder was ending, it was stated that he was at risk for becoming a very dangerous serial killer.
Yeah.
So it was, at this point, the decision was made that he would be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jaime was only the 46th person to receive the sentence.
Wow.
In America, we obviously give that sentence more often.
Handed out like candy, I would say.
Just like Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
So not only was he only the 46th person, but he was actually the youngest person in history to date. So the judge, which was Mr. Justice Wilkie, said that Georgia would not have died instantly, but she would have suffered horribly, both mentally and physically, knowing that she had been betrayed by someone whom she had trusted and into whose power she had given himself. Killing Georgia was a long-standing, recurrent preoccupation with violent, sadistic pornography. You enjoyed the spectacle of her final ghastly minutes as she struggled for life, knowing that she was facing death. As Georgia's parents and her sister were forced to listen, to the brutal details of how she had been lured to her death and what her final moments entailed, Jaime simply hung his head. As the specific and more graphic details of Georgia's death were discussed, her family could stand no more and they actually had to leave the courtroom, which I could not imagine how horrible that must have been for them.
I mean, it's horrible listening to someone that we don't even know. You know, we don't know Georgia as a human being, and imagine this is your daughter. Like, these are horrible facts that all she was trying to do was be a sweetheart and help out a friend in need. And we know what happened, unfortunately.
It's just tragic.
Thank God the judge, absolutely made the right decision. This guy is only going to hurt more people. And I wish it would have been done earlier, obviously. But, these are the tendencies you got to look for. It's like anything attached sexually and aggressiveness. That's
right.
If we can learn anything from all these horrible stories, it's that's a red flag. You need to put this person in a new spot or do something with this person, but not put them in the general public.
Right, because in 2008, he would have been about 17 or 18 when he strangled a girl in his house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very alarming. So in 2014, Jaime unsuccessfully appealed his life sentence. A case review was opened in 2015 to examine how police officers, children's services, and mental health workers had handled Jaime 5 years before he had murdered Georgia and had attempted to strangle another girl that he invited to his house. Why wasn't that taken more seriously?
You can go back and forth with that all the time, but Georgia won't be dying in vain. Hopefully that if something like this pops up again, they'll take it more seriously.
I sure hope so.
And I wish she didn't have to die for that to happen. But it is, a good thing to come out of it is a little bit more
take it more seriously. Yeah. So Georgia's parents were horrified when they read the report and felt that the agencies had failed because it was clear to them that Jaime had the characteristics of a murderer in the making. They felt that their beloved daughter's death could have been prevented had this been taken more seriously back in 2008 and then again in 2011 when he reversed his car into somebody, because that could have been potentially that he could have killed either one of those girls. So they felt that, this could have been prevented, their daughter dying. Jaime had previously told therapists that he found images of strangulation exciting and he had experimented with asphyxiation using a plastic bag. Had Lynette and Steve had any idea of any of these thoughts or things that had happened in Jaime's past, they would have never allowed their daughter to spend time in Jaime's company.
Of course.
Clearly. They had known Jaime for years. He had been inside their daughter's social circle. As far as they were concerned, he was nobody to be concerned about. They never were.
An odd duck.
Yeah, maybe a little socially awkward, but other than that, not concerning. So Steve Williams spoke outside the courtroom and said, "There is no sentence that we can say we are satisfied with because it will never bring Georgia back. She is dead. She is gone physically and lives in our hearts." He added that whatever the length of prison term Jaime had been given, he still had the one thing that their daughter had been denied, and this was life. He was still living. So Georgia's mom, Lynette, had since channeled her grief into writing a book called Our Georgia, where she was able to express her feelings of betrayal that Jaime had been free to kill after the glaring issues had been previously ignored. I guess she also mentioned in her book that their daughter Scarlett was going to be having a baby in just a few weeks, and just what an incredible aunt that Georgia would have been, and that was denied from them. They'll never experience their daughter being anything more than a 17-year-old, which is just so incredibly sad. In June of 2013, family and friends created the Georgia Williams Trust, which is a charity dedicated to providing assistance for young people that allows them to access their adventurous side, because that's what Georgia loved. So they want to be able to financially assist people who have aspirations and dreams, and maybe they don't have the means to do so in their daughter's honor.
That's so awesome. I love when, the victim's parents or friends or something create something that they would have, the victim would have loved.
Right.
To help them, their lives like live on, their spirit.
Right. Because you can never get that person back, but you could do something positive in their honor. And that's exactly what the Williams family did.
Yeah.
And that is the sad and tragic story of the murder of Georgia Williams.
Yeah. Well, Lynette and Steve are not wrong that, had they something been done to Jamie, then their beautiful daughter would still be around and still, spreading happiness to everybody.
Of course. And had they known that either of those events happened in 2008 or 2011, they would have had Georgia known. I'm sure she had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They'd be like, you're not going over there. Heck no.
Well, in any young person or any person of any age, if you get that little tingling that somebody's off, and it sucks, because there's definitely socially awkward people that aren't going to kill people.
Right.
It's
most people.
But if you get something like you're in that situation where, okay,
something doesn't feel right,
things are wrong, then listen to yourself. Listen to your thoughts and, your instincts. And
well, I think one podcast I listened to, they say F politeness.
Yeah.
Because sometimes our kindness and giving natures can get us into trouble, sadly, because there are bad people in the world that could take advantage of that good nature.
Yeah.
And again, not very many people are going to go on to murder, but we hear these stories.
Yep. Better be safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so sorry for Georgia and your family's loss. So thank you for telling our story. Thank you all for listening. And if you appreciate what we do in any way, shape, or form, and have a little extra scratch this holiday season, I mean, everybody's, I'm sure, loaded with tons of money all the time.
At the holidays, we have lots of money just laying around.
Yeah, just where else can I spend money? Well, I've got good news for you. Consider this an impromptu Allison's Amazon addiction. And we noticed a certain charcuterie board on Amazon that you showed it to buy for somebody. We're not going to say who, because they might be listening. But I was like, hey, that would actually be pretty cool for us. It opens and you can put the best part about the whole thing. It comes with those little cheese tools that I'm always searching in the kitchen. I'm like, okay, how do you cut the cheese? Cut the cheese.
Cut the cheese. So there were 4 tools.
Yeah.
Several knives and then one of those spear forky things.
I'm so excited about this. And we're not getting paid by this. I mean, if you buy it through our links, we'll get 50 cents. But it's just, I'm so happy to finally have that little cheese tool. Just to be able to cut the brie or some cheddar or some Parmesan or whatever it might be.
So Mike's right. So it slides open and the tools are within, and then there's 4 ceramic bowls that kind of nestle around the sides, but everything stays together. And I'm not much of a, I always say I'm not a gadget girl for the kitchen. I like simplicity, but this was definitely something I could see us using, especially at the holidays, because we're all going to a holiday event or hosting something. So I already know I'm putting out a charcuterie board. I know what I'm putting in everything. So highly recommended.
Yeah, it's only $40 or $50. It's something that I would expect almost to be $100 something.
Yeah, it was nice, and it came yesterday, so we actually got to see it. So.
Yeah, so this is we'll call this Allison's Amazon addiction. We bring it up every once in a while when we find something. And anything else you bought from Amazon or anything?
I bought these stocking hooks for the mantle. We don't really have a mantle because we live in Florida, so we don't really have a fireplace, but we have a fake one. And I taped them to there. It kept falling. These were cheap. They were $13, and it's 6 of them. And they've been holding up really nicely. So we'll put both of those on Allison's Amazon addiction.
Yeah, check them out if you want.
Yeah.
And real quick, if you like what we do and want to support this little mom and pop podcast, you can go over to patreon.com and you can sign up to be a patron and get access to over 30 episodes. So we want to say thank you and welcome to the Crime and Coffee Couple Club to Rebecca, Shawnee, Jennifer, Susan, Tamika, and Cindy. So thank you so much for joining, and you're all lovely, lovely human beings inside and out. And I hope you look forward to getting all those extra episodes.
Absolutely. We're going to do another one this coming Wednesday.
Yep, absolutely. So looking forward to that.
And we appreciate each and every one of you being here, listening, supporting us. If you like what you hear, please rate and review us. We would so appreciate a 5-star review. And there's a little plus button at the top of your podcast. Maybe go ahead and click that and subscribe to us. then you won't miss any episodes. You'll be able to see which ones you listen to. But the point is, we just appreciate you guys. We know it's a holiday season and people are busy. And so if you're taking the time to stop and listen to us, we thank you.
And when you're with family or coworkers this holiday season, be like, hey, you ever heard of the Crime and Coffee couple? They're fantastic. And if you don't like us, then, just forget what I said.
It's funny, though. We were at the Thanksgiving table, and we were telling my brother's new girlfriend about us, and you could tell she's not a true crime person. And I made a funny comparison. I was like, it's kind of like salmon. You either like it or you don't.
And I was like, no, I wouldn't say it's like that. But if you don't like true crime, then you don't have to listen.
It's like you like true crime or you don't. You like salmon or you don't. There's no middle ground on either one.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay.
But if you like
salmon and true crime, we are your podcast.
And if you know a family member who's into true crime, pass us along. That's the point, Mike.
Yeah, we're not going to have you make any analogies anytime soon. So.
And until next time, bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.